Welcome back to another episode of the Survivor Now podcast. I'm your host, Josh Verlin. Don't worry, Randy's just taking a week off. He will be back. I got you for this week. Joined as always by Will and Abe. Guys, second episode, Survivor Season 44. Great episode tonight. Will, I'll start with you. How are we feeling?
Feeling good. I always love Survivor. So
that's why we're here. Abe, any early thoughts on the episode we're about to discuss tonight?
Man, look here. I'd like to give a shout out to season 41, 42, and 43 for building us up to what we got in this episode 2 of season 44. I mean, it's way better than what they started with. So I like the fact that they've learned from what they saw in these first previous seasons, and they've actually put some stuff to work. I'm all about that birdcage.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely love that. All right, let's get into it. As you mentioned, Randy's not here this week. Randy, we miss you. Can't wait to have you back on the podcast. So I'm taking the reins this week, which is great because I've done absolutely zero preparation for it. Was just at a terrific watch party downtown here in Philadelphia with Bryce and Wendell. Shout out to those guys. They run the best events around. If you got a Bryce and Wendell party coming to your town, absolutely go hit it up. It's where I met Abe and Randy, and through them have met Will, and that's why we're all here tonight. So second episode of this season, and Abe, like you said, it seems like seasons 41, 42, and 43 were the producers figuring this new era out a little bit, and it seems like in 44, at least so far, it seems like they figured things out, and it's clicking early here.
I think the players have figured out how they want to play the game earlier. We didn't see this much action in seasons previous. So you have the birdcage, I think, which is a centerpiece of these first 2 episodes, because it adds a dimension of just mystery of what it is. Also, it's just anxiety. How do we find this key? And then we get a chance to see the players that actually find the key and execute. Did they do it the right way in the Survivor world? We'll let Will speak on that. So it's
sorry, Abe.
No, it's definitely it is definitely kicking off with a lot of speed, and I like the fact that the players have come to play the game.
Will, we've now seen this bird. I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast that you've watched both episodes of season 44 so far. Will, we've now seen, well, that's a problem. We've now seen the birdcage be found by all 3 tribes, right? We've seen Brandon found it. We've seen Caroline find it. We've seen Danny find it. All 3 of them handled it differently. Your thoughts on how that's gone so far, and if you were out there, how do you think you would have handled it?
So, yeah, I think it's really interesting how the 3 people all handle it differently. Like we see Brandon, he exposed it right to the tribe saying, hey, I found it. Here's what I have. We have Carolyn just completely spiral out of control. And she's like, do I hide it, hit it unsuccessfully, or tribe finds out, which caused a whirlwind of problems. And somehow I don't think anyone suspected Carolyn of having the actual idol.
Nope.
And then we see Danny find it, put it back. No one suspects anything, right? In terms of how I would play it, I feel like no matter what I say, Abe's going to be like, now let me tell you something. That's wrong.
Let me tell you something.
I think, honestly, if it was up to me, I might have just thrown the key into the ocean. Right? Because assuming that there's only one key available, right? And assuming that no one else found the key, I'm able to just have the power and remove it from everyone else, right? It would cause no suspicion whatsoever, no paranoia, right? Because eventually people would just be like, you know, why search for this key if no one found it? Or it'll cause people searching for just the key and nothing else, right? Either way, I think just disposing of the key is a smart play.
Rather than just holding on to the key.
Like take it home with your souvenir.
Right.
Well, you could, but at the same time too, then you have to worry about, what if someone digs through my stuff, finds the key? I think by just completely getting rid of the key is a smart play. And I just want to point out, it's not the most unreasonable thing, right? Because we saw Parvati do it back in what season was it? Micronesia, by not finding the idol when she was on Exile Island and just leaving it there, even though it was a free idol, right? So I think there's a little bit more play you could have by disposing of the key or throwing the key into the ocean than I think the producers would want. But
Abe, your thoughts on Will's terrible idea?
What do you mean, like, terrible idea?
Look, you people want to take stuff from Survivor all the time. I'm taking that key with me, but I probably wouldn't get the key. I probably would go in there. I would take out the immunity idol and the note because the note tells you that the other one is fake. I would re-hide the key and let somebody else find it. I'll just let them say, "Hey, look, I found it. Hey, there's no note, but I know there's got to be an idol," and let somebody else have that pressure. Caroline just was a little too. She was a little too happy because she didn't close the bag back right. She had it. Then she was like, "I didn't close the cage back." But I think Danny, out of everybody, has played it correctly. He found it. He put it back, and now he's kind of like going along. And they said, "Hey, I'm not even worrying about it right now." But I think in the previous episode, we saw where it was used and it saved. Hey, it got you another night. Got you another night on the island. Got you another competition. So there are plenty of ways how you can play this. But I definitely like the way Danny got it, put it back, close the cage.
Okay, so this is one of the downsides of watching it live at the watch parties. You don't really get to like rewind, and there's calamity going around you. So did Danny obviously did a better job of like closing the bag. Did he leave the idols in the bag? Caroline obviously took them out. Caroline was displaying them, and she left the bag open. Did Danny leave anything in the bag, or did they not make that clear?
He left the fake, I believe.
And they didn't notice the bag was open. The cage didn't look disturbed when Danny did it.
Right. Danny definitely did a better job of making the bag look like the bag was originally in there, but I don't remember if they showed what he actually did with the fake.
I'm pretty sure he put it back in the bag, but keeping the note. I could be wrong.
He kept the parchment.
But at the same time, what point does that have if he hangs on to the key, right? Because we never saw what he did with the key after finding the idol, right?
My guess is they're setting us up for a reveal in a episode or two from now.
Yeah, but, I mean, he can still keep the key. If nobody ever finds the key, it's not unimaginable. What I did think was interesting about this episode is they actually came upon the snake, and I was like,
found the snake.
Usually, when you see Survivor, you see them cut to a snake, and everybody says the same thing that's been on the show. We didn't see not one snake the whole time we was there, but apparently there's a snake on the island now. So that was an extra bonus for the night. I think when you get there and you start playing the game, you become so excited when you find something that's on your bucket list of things you want to do on Survivor. And I think Carolyn fits directly in there. But I love the way that nobody noticed that she might have found it. Nobody gave her credit for finding it, which brings me to, what do you think about the player Carson?
Carson. So Carson is one of it's a weird person, right? Because I feel like he's trapping himself in this like nerd archetype, but he also doesn't want to be the nerd archetype. He's a weird guy. And I think right now he's in a really comfortable position within the tribe, right? He kind of played middle, and this is leading more into the tribal council. But my only fear with Carson is that he's a little too young to kind of just know how to like live on an island, right? And what I mean by that, I mean more in like a social awareness setting, right? And I feel like, Carson might get set up to either go pre-merge or get like fifth boot or go get fifth place.
I actually disagree. I like Carson a lot, and I think he's handled himself really well out there for being 20 years old. What I'm curious now is like, okay, everybody on Tika was saying at the tribal council of like, okay, we need numbers for the merge. It feels like, and I don't have any personal experience in this, it feels like that unlike the early seasons where who was on your original tribe really was important for the numbers at the merge, it doesn't seem like that's as important anymore. And it almost feels like you could be at an advantage if your tribe is the one that only has 2 or 3 people left at a merge, because then people don't see you as a threat, but instead they see you as numbers we can work with. Like, oh, hey, if we have a group of 5 and there's 1 or 2 out there that don't have an allegiance, that's someone we can bring into and work with, not, oh, that's easy pickings because they don't have as many numbers as we do. So I actually think Carson's in a decent position here.
That's the great
for 2 episodes into the
that's the great Matt Singh dilemma, right? As we would call it on the streets of Baltimore. Basically, and the only issue with that though, like let's say you are on a tribe and you do diminish numbers quite significantly, right? I think that would actually help you in the early merge. However, I think the later you go, the more and more people will start pointing you as a target, right? Because they'd be like, Josh and Randy, they were able to survive, 5 tribal councils together pre-merge. They're coming in low in numbers and they're able to completely sweep the floor. Because also think of it like this too, Survivor's always a narrative, right? Not just of what we see, but everyone's trying to kind of build a story about how they should win, right? And that's what they use at tribal council. Like if you survive, most of the tribal councils, like all but 4 or all but 2, you go to all but 2 councils. That's a really good narrative you could sell to the jury, right? Because I mean that's what happened with Denise Stapley, and that's how she was able to just come in and then say, "Hey, I survived every tribal council despite her social game not being the best."
No, they were down to 2 players, and they just basically ran out of players to vote out on there.
Yeah.
It's I think this season here is definitely a nod toward playing the game and understanding how to position yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to Claire talking to Matt at the challenge. Now I don't know what it was Claire sitting out 2 challenges, but apparently she likes to volunteer for sitting out challenges, and I'm gonna have to ask about that one. Raise her hand. But it looks like there's going to be a lot of cross tribal gameplay this season. We got Lauren; she got 2 votes, and she's putting herself in a position where she could work with somebody else. 2 votes is definitely a power move in Survivor. I think as much as an idol is, 2 votes is just as strong because now you can vote for somebody else that's already been voted out. I just want to see how that particular tribes, how the tribes develop. And then this is where I wish we could see more at the tribe footage versus the challenge, the vote out, and that's pretty much it. Can we get 15 more minutes?
Okay, so from that perspective, what we have started to see a good bit of on the Soka tribe is this developing showmance between Matt and Franny. And they're really leaning into it pretty hard in these first 2 episodes. It's been a while since we've seen like a really long-lasting showmance, but this one, these 2 really seem into each other. Will, huge mistake to make at this point, going into a showmance? Like, I don't mean necessarily in Survivor, but like in 2023 in reality television, or you just kind of, not that Will has any idea what it's like to fall in love on a television show.
You don't know me, man. Come on.
Will got love in his life. Quit playing.
What are your thoughts, Will, on Matt and Franny there?
So I mean, there's 2 ways to attack it, right? I could just talk about why that's a bad idea in a game setting, but also more so in just a life setting, right? Like it just feels very unwise to express love and affection in such an open on a TV show, mainly because Twitter, right? I know Carson online has spoke about how castaways get so much hate, right, in a season, right, which is there's nothing you can really do about that. And I feel like a showmance, it's so polarizing, right? Because either there's people who hate everything about showmances, hates everything about love and whatnot, and then there's other people who are going to be like, if anything happens to these people, I will go on a rampage, right? And so it's not Matt or Franny's fault, but I feel like a showmance does just naturally lead into toxicity online. And then that's my opinion on how it happens outside of the realm of Survivor. I think in the game it's still just stupid to get into a showmance because there's such low numbers and that's such easy ammunition to make against 2 people, right? In a group of 6, you can be like, these 2 people are showmance. Let's just vote them out before they become not powerful. Sorry, slurring. And so that's kind of my take on the whole Matt and Franny. I like them both individually, but I'm just interested in how it'll work out leading into the future episodes.
Abe, your thoughts?
Nah, you got 6 people in a tribe. I'm looking for any reason to vote you out. Any reason. I don't. If it was a bigger tribe where you were divided and you had two tribes versus 3 tribes, you got more room to kind of develop that and kind of, and not be noticed as much up front. You got to think about it. We in episode 2, and they already got showmance as a primary couple saying these are the showmans. I would vote you out immediately. I think Matt, and he said it himself, he's bringing in some baggage from outside into the show. And your feelings are a little different when you're out there on the island. It's only people that you're talking to 24/7 is your tribe mates. that's either good or that could be bad for you because now you're getting attention that normally you wouldn't get. I always like to call it the non-distractive love. There's nothing to distract you. So all you got to do is deal with that person. But everybody that's on Tribe is looking for a reason to say, why should we vote them out? It could go either way. Or you could say, okay, we know we got two people that's voting together. Or she might just be playing them along.
I'm like, I hope that it works. Not on the show, but like I think they're a very cute couple, like out of the show. I really think they do legitimately seem like really a good match for each other based on, watching them in 2 episodes. They're really cute together. My wife and I are sitting there watching the episode like, oh, but yeah, with the small tribes, I think, Abe, you hit on it perfectly. Like in a tribe of 9 or 10, at least early in the game, you can maybe get away with having that bonded pair. But in a tribe of 6, like you're going to be looking for anything different, anything differentiating, anything to set you apart to make the other people 5 against 1, 4 against 2, whatever it is, be like, these are the people that we need to target. And when you're making it so obvious, like here's a voting block of 2, in a tribe of 6 is super dangerous.
Now, Soka as a tribe, because in the challenge, Soka's put it together. They're running on they're except for Claire. They are running on all cylinders in Soka tribe. But it's when you lose and you got to vote somebody out, then it's all gonna start being crazy. Matter of fact, who picked? Oh, so Danny got the idol. I'm hoping Danny and Josh work together on not our Josh, but that Josh. Work together on the island and form a little bond with Claire. I like that group. Yep. Not to say the rest of them can't play. I just want to see how they do together. But it's just this season right here has started off with so much more speed as playing the game than the previous seasons have. But we still haven't seen everybody develop in 2 episodes. I'm still waiting to see who's going to get the role of villain, who's out there just stabbing people in the back. Now, Matt said something that I just did not agree with. He played his shot in the dark when he wasn't in danger. What's y'all thoughts on that? Because now that's it. You can't play it again. You don't have it but once. Because the shot in the dark is actually unless they change it, it's actually a dice.
Right.
And you have to put your dice in there. But once you play it, it's over. So, Matt, anytime you wanted to use that later on when you probably needed it, now you don't have it.
I actually think it was smart what he did. Because I don't think a 1 in 6 shot is reliable enough that if you're actually in danger at the final 7, final 6, whatever it is, it's not reliable, and it's about a 16% chance or something along those lines. So, like, it's not like it's a reliable enough odds that even if you know you're in danger later on, that you can play it and, the chances of it saving you. We haven't seen anybody actually use it correctly. So I don't think it's a terrible move to postpone declaring your alliance as far into the game as you can. Because now, instead of, on day 2 or day 3, everybody, what tribe was that? On the Ratu tribe, everybody on Ratu knowing, where Matt lies. Now we're past day 5 and people still don't know where Matt lies. And if they make it another tribal, it could be day 8 or 10 before he has to declare an allegiance. And so I think odds-wise, the odds that he would use the shot in the dark later on successfully are so low. He used it successfully for himself in the first one. It's just a different way of using it successfully.
No, he didn't win. I mean, he did. His stuff said he basically lost it. I mean,
no. But I'm saying I think he. When I say used it successfully, he used it for what he wanted to use it for. People don't know who he's allied with. People in the tribe are not mad at him. If anything, maybe they think he was a little silly for playing it, but he does not have anybody on his bad side right now. And I think that was a successful play.
Now, Matthew, go ahead, Dave.
I'm saying who does have somebody on their bad side because it showed that they voted for him. Kane just came out there. I'm like, Kane.
Yeah. So, like, who's in a worse position in that tribe right now? Kane or Matt? Kane, for sure. So, like, that's my argument would be what, like, okay, it's 16. One out of 6 is 16%, I think, because 1 out of 5 was 16.6%. So if you're saying that, let's say Matt was going to use it in the final 7, final 6, so you'd have to calculate the odds of him making that far, and then combine that by 16%. So like maybe 1 out of 50 times, does that work out? But like,
well, and that's the thing about it is, at least you have without it, you have no shot. If they're going to vote you out, they're going to vote you out. If you still had it and you didn't need to use it earlier on, at least you had a shot.
But the difference is now he doesn't have a target. He doesn't have Brandon mad at him. He doesn't have the tribe mad at him. He doesn't have.
You're right, and it's just now. Don't get me wrong. Now, it's only been used successful one time in 4 seasons. So I don't think it's the best option available to you. I just said it's an option. I like the fact that it's just an option.
Yeah, but I think he played it. I think he played it correctly. I actually like the way he played it, and it worked out for him. Does that mean it's going to be smart for? I hope it doesn't become a thing where everybody just goes, "Oh, I'm just going to play my shot in the dark at the first tribal." I don't think that'll actually happen. We might see other people try it for once in a while, and then I wonder if production changes the way it works. But I think for Matt to look at it and be like, "What's the best way to help my game right now?" I think it was a smart move.
So there's a few things I want to say and address. I think this is one of those moves where people will look back on it and change and rewrite history. Because if it works out for Matt, everyone's going to be like, Matt was so smart. He used the shot in the dark productively and did this, and that. If it doesn't work out, people would be like, Matt made one of the biggest blunders by using it when he didn't have to.
But they'll never say that, though. Because
I'm saying if Matt was in a position where he needed to play it, right, people could always use that argument, right?
Like, but there's never a position where, like, I guess what I'm saying is if you're in a position where you need to play it, the odds that it would work are only 16% anyways. So you'd never look at that as, oh, what a huge blunder that he didn't give himself a 16%.
We're saying that people are going to sit there and actually calculate the odds. They're not.
Yeah,
they're going to be like, oh, he didn't have it.
But you get what I'm saying, though, where it's like I feel like people would judge the success based off what will happen in the future.
No,
I would say that's wrong. I think it's already successful. I think regardless of what happens the rest of the season, we're already past day 5. He doesn't have a target on his back. Like, he doesn't have that bad blood. I think that's a success. I don't think he needs to get to day 20 to be like, wow, that saving of the dice roll was good. Like, if the tribe stayed cohesive, which it looked like it did, and it kept that target off his back for a few more days, and then you never know if you're even going to need it again or what the next vote is going to be or whatever. Like, I don't think it needs to be revisionist history. I think you can look at it already right now and say what he did was smart.
I'm saying see that from a strategic point, but I can see that from a strategic point, playing it that way. But when we see Josh on the island, we're going to vote him out.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to try to play this shot in the dark. We're going to vote him out.
I will say, too, I do find it interesting how you're talking about whether or not people will start playing their shot in the dark in the future just to, like, avoid their vote. I think that would be a very interesting play out because I think it would add a huge or another layer to the game, right? Where, let's say you don't what am I trying to say? You play your shot in the dark, right, and lose your vote. That could cause a target on your back, right? Because people could say, hey, Josh played a shot in the dark. You know, what is he doing by that? Because I think Matt had an easy out by saying, I got injured really severely. Yeah. I could see why y'all would vote me out. But let's say Josh was in a good position, but just aligned with everyone and the tribe was split. If he used the shot in the dark, that could lead into a target onto Josh. And so I kind of want to see that play out in the future. So I am kind of hoping that people start to use the shot in the dark for that reason. But do I think that will actually happen? Maybe.
Well, I think that's a good point, Will. Like that, Matt had that out. He had the excuse of, oh, my arm. So I think you'd have to really be in the right position. You'd have to have your tribe mates believe that you think you're vulnerable when in reality, you know which way the vote is going.
I like to say that the shot in the dark, we didn't care for it in 41. And one of the biggest reasons was it just wasn't explained to us properly. They were trying something new, and we just were like, what is this? That's why you only saw a couple people play it in our season. Sydney played hers, and I forgot who the other person played theirs. But it just wasn't explained to where we could use it as a Matt used his. He used it to say, hey, look, this is a part of my strategy. So they're not going to look at me to vote on me. I'm hurt too, so I want to protect myself. Where we were just given a shot in the dark. We was like, what is this? I mean, half the time it was in your bag somewhere. You didn't really know where it was at anyway. So I like the growth in the seasons in 44. I think they've really captured some of the stuff that they didn't capture in 41, 42, and 43. Now, saying that, going into episode 3, who we think gonna be the next one voted out.
Whoa, we haven't even gotten to this week's vote
I know.
out. Like,
let's
stick to
we
this
got that. Okay.
episode.
Look, I got ahead of myself. I was excited.
We haven't even gotten to the
Oh, the
challenge
challenge.
yet.
Let's get to the challenge. Claire, I'm sitting out.
I love these. I mean, a sort of classic early Survivor challenge, a big not relay race,
like obstacle course.
Obstacle course,
Yeah.
thank you. By stage obstacle course, some new twists, the lifting of the ladder, one person runs up, and the new little things that are different. What I really like, and the return obviously of the snake maze at the end. What I really like in this challenge was it's a little bit of luck, but it provides for some early challenge drama, is the having to find the one pouch out of all the bags.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you, that trampoline thing is way fun in person. Let me tell you, that thing is so much fun, man, because you get back there, you run up there, you just throw yourself off, man. You rolling down. It is way funner than it looks on TV.
I think we're starting to see, Abe, tell me if what you think. Are we starting to notice that Danny is a little bit of a challenge beast?
I mean, trying to reacclimate physically to the island and the lack of food, I think that's what we saw Danny in episode 1. I think in episode 2, we're really seeing him come into the position that he's going to play in the tribe. I would put him almost in a Jonathan position. But I said almost. Well, I said almost. Not yet. Almost. He's in a because he's going to be that physical type to help you win challenges or get you in a position so you can win challenges. So it's good to see him go through the whole challenge. Nobody needed medical this time, which is great because I'm glad nobody got hurt. And I just like to see the competition, man. I want to compete against the best and have fun doing it. So I'm liking to see that.
Will, any thoughts on this challenge from your perspective?
It just looked like fun. I want to play it.
I think it's fun.
Like, I'm just waiting for CBS to just respond to me and be like, Will, just come on the island. Will and Abe are tribe captains. Make it a season.
I'm gonna draft Josh. Josh, I'm gonna draft you. I'm gonna
get Randy.
I appreciate it.
Oh man,
Abe, are you putting yourself up for the snake maze? What are you pro snake maze? You let somebody else do the snake maze?
Here's the thing, man. You got to be able to balance yourself out. Look at when Josh from the show played. He was dropping the ball back to back to back. You got to be able to center yourself, and it's 5 days. We got 5 days in there, so that's 4 nights, 5 days. You gotta walk the tribal council. So you're gonna expend some energy, but you gotta stay in the moment. I think that Matt came in there like gangbusters and knocked it out of the box for him. Josh, I just think that he settled himself enough to get through it. Mm-hmm. Now, the loser are the ones that be like, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get through it. Now you're worrying about, if I volunteer to do this challenge, which Carson is always saying that he don't want to actually use his smarts or use his capabilities, how long do you sit back and wait? Because your tribe lost. So you could, in essence, got voted out because you sat back and waited too long.
That's a good point. So let's talk about that. So Tika loses. Sarah last in the puzzle, which I don't really think was her fault. I think all of them did decently. Her tribe was just a little bit behind getting to the puzzle. Caroline, Sarah, Carson, Jam, and Helen go back to the beach. And there are some discussions. Caroline has the idol. It doesn't seem like anybody knows it, as we've talked about, which is weird because she was the one talking about how all the other 4 were together and she was separate, and then she didn't do a good job hiding it. So I have to feel like the other 4 people know that she has the idol. No. And I wonder if there are some conversations that we weren't privy to. Abe, you're already shaking your head.
Yeah, because here's the thing about it is we kind of, have you ever met somebody and you kind of put them in a box? I think Jam. I think he described it best. Her personality, she wears it on her sleeve. Her emotions and stuff and how she is. Because I don't know if I could dig through baby poop till I find a tooth. I don't know. I'm just saying. My kid is older now. But you can tell what kind of person she is. She's a loving, caring person. And that comes out. We saw it last season in Marianne where she was always excited, always laughing. So you kind of never picture her as a threat. I think by not picturing her as a threat, and I think the longer the game goes on, the better she's going to get.
True. My only thing is, I feel like with Marianne, we saw her flip between being the crazy, eccentric Marianne, but then in confessionals, she talks about how it's strategy. My fear with Carolyn, not Caroline, is that in confessionals, she's still like this she's still spiraling, right? I feel like I would have felt way more secure had she say, talked in the confessional like calmly, but in the confessionals, she was still freaking out. She's like, "These four are against me," yada yada yada. I do appreciate though how her like messing up with hiding the bag kind of split that group of four that she thought existed, right? Because we saw Carson blame Helen. Helen blames, I don't think she blamed anyone, but then Yam Yam blames Sarah. Sarah blames Yam Yam. Like everyone just goes after each other from Carolyn just messing up and spiraling. It's hilarious.
I do got one thing to add on. Please, future Survivor players, don't read a bunch of books about body language and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like Carson. Like he just
I
felt
was
like like there's a super fan, and then there's like again, I feel like Carson, he knows how to play Survivor, but he doesn't know how to play people.
Now,
Because
he's the nicest guy. I met him in person. He's a
seems
very
like a nice
nice guy. And you know, like, because I don't want you, they'd be like, well, Abe didn't say anything for Carson. Carson, man, you're a nice guy. But here's my thing about Carson, the way Carson playing, I think Carson gonna sit back too long. And here's the thing: those books are describing somebody in a controlled environment. You're not in a controlled environment. You're in the woods. You know, you're not eating, you're not sleeping. So when they all went through who they thought was the one, nobody said Carol. Nobody.
Yeah, I'm still wondering if it's smart editing, because I find it hard to believe that even though Caroline is to quote Will Ferrell, trapped in a glass case of emotion.
I gotta use that one on somebody.
Come on, you've seen Anchorman, right? I think, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe if I go on Survivor, right? Like if it's next year, I'm on Survivor. Not going to happen. But let's just say if I'm out there, and Abe, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Everybody that comes out to play Survivor in this era is a fan of Survivor, wants to be there, and wants to play. So I would find it hard to believe that anybody out there, even if their personality is different from mine, is really sitting out there being like, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to look for this key. I'm not going to do the things that the Survivor fan wants to do, because I think everybody that's out there wants to play Survivor. So it's just hard for me to believe that nobody's suspicious of Caroline.
Well, I think they are. We just didn't see it in the edits, because let me tell you something.
Exactly. Right? That's what I just said.
I was over in the rocks, and this is behind the scenes, but I was over in the rocks looking for idols, and there's always somebody filming. So you just never you just never see those footage. But yeah, I like day one. As soon as we got there and I can get away, man, I was looking for idols. But here's the thing: you notice that there's a snake out there. There's a snake out there. You don't have any control in what you run across. So there's spider webs, there's holes, it's all kind of stuff on that island. So you got to be conscious of that as well. But you're right, Josh. If you waited all that time to come out there and play Survivor, and you don't suspect everybody, you just got to manage it. And I think Jam Jam is the best manager for her. Just kind of explain how she is. But I do like the way Carson is playing it. Carson played both sides. He's going to both groups. Now that could get a little sticky. We're gonna see how long it lasts, because once you make that vote, then you got to go back and say, okay, who did what? But I like these first two episodes, and I definitely liked tonight's episode. Because one, the idol didn't have to be played, and it wasn't prematurely played. So I like the fact that she didn't play the idol. I like the fact that when they got ready to go to the tribal council, they'd already kind of broken up. I like to see that scheming, what's going on. So it's just these two episodes has really said this is going to be a good season. I just hope it lives up to that.
When Carson was sort of the swing vote and people were talking about him a little bit and he was getting a lot of attention, I was almost wondering if the vote was going to turn around on him. And the fact that it didn't makes me wonder if he makes a little run here, because, it had that sort of moment of like, are people going to realize Carson's the swing vote and that Carson's pretty smart and turn around on Carson? But it didn't seem like that ever really happened. They got Helen out as the smart one. On the flip side with Carson, this is another thing I'm curious to see. when you're the smart kid and then you're downplaying being the smart kid, it feels like you can't ever reveal, oh, by the way, I've actually been really smart this whole time. Because then as soon as you give up that, like, oh, by the way, I've been playing everybody and we're midway through this, and oh, by the way, I'm really actually much smarter than I am, that's going to put a huge target on your back. Can you play dumb the whole time? Not that he's playing dumb, but like
downplay it.
Yeah, but here's the thing about it is you downplay it, and then the next challenge just has nothing to do with being smart. Then you kind of trap yourself versus teaming up with somebody. And I think he's teamed up with the right three, because here it is. When it's only 6, you really only need 3. So once you vote out that person, y'all down to 5. Now it's just a matter of picking them off if y'all lose. It's up to the 2 people on the bottom to try to sway Carson or one of the other 2 to kind of say, oh, no, I'm not the threat. Let's go ahead and vote this other person out. That's where Carson might be in danger. But when you got 6 on the tribe, my first goal was we got to win so we don't have to go to tribal council. But if you're losing, if you look at the Green Tribe from 41 season, when they started losing, they just started cutting everybody down except for Ricard and Shan. Shan, they just cut through the whole tribe until it came down to it's time to merge. And that can happen in Survivor, because really, physically, that tribe can't stand up in a physical challenge is best now, because they're starting to cut their players off. So we're going to see that. We saw that when we had somebody get knocked out on episode 1, Brandon. When Brandon went down, his tribe now, those boxes are heavy. So Brandon's out of the game. Now you struggle, you lose. Now you got to go tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when I'm thinking more the danger for Carson, though, is post-merge, right? Like if you're him and then all of a sudden there's 9 people left and it's an immunity challenge that ends in a puzzle and you fly through it in 10 seconds because you practice it 50 times. At that point, people go, whoa, Carson's really good at puzzles? Like at some point, it's going to be obvious. And then it's like, okay, how much can you have been playing people the whole time?
So my only thing is, and I'm going to preface by saying I know it's Survivor, and then people will use anything to like target someone with. But I feel like just because you're good at a puzzle doesn't necessarily mean that you are the smartest person. Because again, I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. I've said it like 4 times this podcast, but there's a difference between knowing how to play Survivor and knowing how to just play with people, right? And it kind of goes with like the whole street smart, social smart thing, right? Or book smart. I feel like Carson, just because he reads a lot of books on, human behavior doesn't mean he knows how to like manage the situations, right? Because I feel like by then you just know how to read people. You don't know how to like make people do what you want them to do. And so I've never understood just like why people are so opposed against just smart people, when I think it's the people who have a lot of charisma, like Cody from last season, that I think are the true threats.
Like, And you're right, Will. You're absolutely right, because we had a tribe full of smart people. Everybody either was college bound or had advanced degrees and everything else. But you have to be social. Do you have a social game? And it's going to be interesting to see how Carson's. We've seen a glimpse of it. We've seen him kind of manage the situation, be the swing vote. So I think it's there. We just got to see a couple more episodes to see how it develops. Because Josh, I think you're right too. How long do you sit back? How long do you sit back and wait? It's only 26 days, and now we will be down to 21 days already. So it's already down to 21 days. It's going to be over soon. So you got to make sure you make a move when you in the right time. So for me, it's pre-merge and merge. Surviving to get to the pre-merge. What do you need to do to survive to get there? Stay out of tribal council and vote people out. And you got to think about it. Once they voted up in season 41, they voted out 2 players first. I like the fact that they only voted out 1 player every season after, giving us a chance to see the development of Tri, so we can see a Carson. So we can see somebody like a Matt get hurt but not get put out the game. So I like that development. I think the changes are working. I'm just excited to see what's going to happen in these next episodes.
If I forgot to mention it, please make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram at Survivor Now Pod. Randy's probably going to yell at me. There might be other things that I forgot to mention. We're 45 minutes into the pod. Don't want to, spend too much longer on this. But let's, any further thoughts on? I got more basketball stuff to write about tonight. I mean, I'd love to talk about Survivor for 2 hours, but gotta get back to work.
History homework.
Abe, any, 2 episodes in, any players you've really, maybe before the game we're thinking this will be a pre-merge boot, now someone you think is going to go far, or vice versa, or anybody you really got an incorrect read on pre-game that you've really changed your opinion on?
You know what? No, I still looking at everybody. Everybody's kind of still moving the same way. I didn't have Helen. Let me see where I had Helen at. I didn't have Helen lower high. I had her down for going out at pre-merge anyway. You had her down as going out fourth, so you only one off. So she wasn't, not that she wasn't a player. We just didn't see her play enough, and then, it's kind of heartbreaking when because I looked at her confessional at the end. She was like, I came out here to play the game, and she really did get a chance to play the game, and that what happened in Survivor. But right now, I'm gonna stick with everybody that I had in place. My winner pick is still in the game, so I'm still rooting for him. I think Lauren is playing a fabulous game. I probably would have cut back on telling a lot of stuff, but it's working for her right now with the 2 votes. And I like the birdcage. I think the birdcage kind of turned the whole game upside down because I don't think that was a suspected added addition to the game. So I'm kind of interested to see how Danny plays his game because I did have Danny going out for a pre-merge. Now I'm gonna have to change that because I think Danny is coming to play the game of Survivor. So I'm interested to see how his character develops on the Castaways as well. But I'm loving the way the game has been changed, and I'm loving the way the game has been played by players that have had an opportunity to see season 1, 41, 42, and 43.
Yep.
So before you got out there,
you kind of had an idea, yeah.
You got an idea what to expect and come out there and they actually executing it. That's what I like about it. Yeah, you can watch it, but it's still up to you to execute. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Will,
So-
same question to you. Anybody that you've drastically changed your opinion on a couple weeks
So,
in?
I mean, so I'm now a diehard Yam Yam fan.
It's
I was
Jam
a-
Jam.
Jam,
Jam?
man. I asked him,
Jam Jam.
dude. I texted and asked him, I said, hey man, is it J? Because it's Spanish. And he said it's
Yeah,
Jam
oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I'm failing Spanish. Jam Jam. So I mean, I didn't
Spanish.
dislike him season or in the first episode. He was just there. I liked him. But after Bruce got medevaced, I just shifted focus to Jam Jam, especially what he said about Carolyn, because I feel like Carolyn is just a little too out there for my taste. I think he'll go far, and I think he'll do really well. I still think that Carson is going to go either 5th or pre-merge. I think Matthew is going to get like 4th. I don't think either one of those two are going to win.
No.
And I think Carolyn might get 2nd or 3rd, but like a losing finalist. Because I think she's going to be there for a while. We've seen a lot of Carolyn, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot of her. But she's just, again, a little too out there and not as strategically aware like how Marianne was. So that's my argument for that. But what do I know?
The only thing that I can pick up on, and because pre-season, as Abe will tell you, I didn't really make any actual picks. I think
I wrote
my
them all
winners.
down. He did.
I barely. I honestly think Heidi or Claire are going to win this season based on the edit so far.
Yes.
And I
do
think
like Heidi.
Jam Jam is going to end up being like 6th or 7th place, because I think there will be a point post-merge where everybody goes, we all really like Jam Jam. And if Jam Jam gets to the end, Jam Jam's going to win.
Yeah.
He's so likable, but I don't think he's a huge individual immunity threat. So I think they won't eliminate him like first post-merge, but I don't think they're going to let him get down to 4 or 5 because that just gets too tricky. I think he's so likable, and that level of likability is like it's like a Rick Devens kind of thing where you're like, hey, everybody really likes that guy. Like there's just no way they're going to let him get to the end.
I will say though, these people have seen 41, 42, 43, and in all those
They've not
seasons,
seen 43.
not,
that's right. I'm sorry because they were
not
filming.
43. They've seen 41, 42 though. But even then, we've seen the big power players. They get out at 6th and 4th. Mainly those two, right? We have Omar, Jonathan, Ricard, and Shan. And so what could possibly happen is we have someone who plays or who's going to play a similar game to Jeremy from Cambodia, where they're like,
nice.
we want to keep the threats around. That could also, I don't know if that'll happen, but I could see that happening, especially next season or whatever season is able to see 43 after Carla and the Jesse boots. Because I think we're shaping into a new meta of Survivor where threats work together and not, try to have a shield as much, if that makes sense.
Well, you onto something there. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this season pans out with, you come in with some prior knowledge. Because if you're looking at previous seasons before 41, they don't even play Survivor like that anymore. So you got to look to say, okay, what's the expectations now? It's just hard to believe that the game has evolved so quickly and they've made changes so quickly to try to make the game better, which is appreciative from a fan standpoint. It's appreciative. The shot in the dark, I still say throw that thing in the ocean. If you want to throw something in the ocean, throw that in the ocean. I hate the shot in the dark. I'm just saying, look.
It's dumb, but I'll continue throwing my dice in the oceine.
But it was a good tribal.
Episode 3.
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry. It was a good tribal. It was a good blindside too. Let's not forget that. It wasn't. They were going in expecting to vote one out. Helen got voted out. Okay, Josh. Episode 3 coming up.
Yeah, no, I just was like, there just wasn't. It wasn't like there was anything super notable about the second half of tonight's episode. Not in a bad way. Like it played out well, but it wasn't like there was anything that was like super like, oh my god, like that really shocked me.
It just seemed like the episodes are so short.
True.
When I'm looking
after the 2-hour premiere, it's always going to feel that second episode's always going to feel short.
Yeah, but when I'm looking at AU Survivor, they got
chance. That's also
they got time,
an issue.
Yeah, they got a time for a reward challenge, and they have a time for the immunity challenge. Wait a minute, didn't I see some fishing gear again this time?
Yeah, that was the reward tonight.
Okay. Last point I want to make. I'm sorry. Last point I want to make, Will. One person caught some fish. Well, 2 people caught fish. Ain't nobody catch no fish out there. Let's get some real rewards.
Yeah. Well, Survivor, they're just trying to be harder on everyone. I think that's the main drawback between Australian Survivor and US Survivor. I feel like Australian Survivor is leaning more into being physical with challenges, but then giving them more food and rewards as like a break. I think the US challenges, they're less like physically demanding, but they're running on empty the entire time. I will say I love Australian Survivor. I haven't seen too much of HVV. I have one major problem with it. Despite there being longer episodes, I feel like the editing is still just whack, and I'm just overloaded with too many people, like 90% of which I just don't remember at all. I remember last season of a Survivor, there's like a guy Jay who just never had a confessional ever, which is depressing.
Look, hey, Will, I'm going to sponsor your one class in college for film editing. Just let me know when I got to pay for it. I just want you to be in there, guy. I just want you to be a part of it, man. I just want to be in there.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else that we want to get to tonight?
No, we only 2 episodes in. Great episodes. We was kind of wondering if we're going to be able to make the transition from episode 1, which had a lot of stuff going on, to episode 2. I think we were successful. I just hope the train keeps rolling with a full head of steam.
Yep.
Yeah, been really good season so far. 2 episodes in, absolutely. High hopes for this year with this cast. High hopes.
Yep.
Well, thank you for.
Wait a minute, Josh.
Okay.
I forgot to write it down. Who was your winner pick again?
Mine. Half the cast.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Will, his winner pick literally
no.
is half the cast.
It was half the cast. No, but now I'm 2 episodes in. I'm not gonna pick one yet, but I think saying Heidi and Claire. I think saying Heidi and Claire is I think that's a significant step in the right direction for my winner pick.
All right.
I'm giving you 2 names,
man. Oh, wait, before we end, I just want to give another shout out to @officialsavingbruce. Please go follow that. I've been working hard, so leave it in there, Randy.
Make sure you listen to all the other Survivor Now podcasts. I know we've got a good Survivor Social tomorrow night with Jerry Manthe, I believe, is being interviewed by Tegwith and whoever else runs that show. David, I don't know David. I'm sure he's awesome. As the Survivor Now family continues to grow. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I've been your host, Josh Verlin. Randy, please don't fire me. Will, Abe, great chatting with you guys as always. And looking forward to another week of outwitting, outlasting, outplaying, and outwatching.